Mishka Shabali is catching up with friends who are arguably more talented than him.
Hey, hi, hello, what's up, gang? How are ya? It's very early. Did not get around to recording the header yesterday because I went to go and see Idols in Phoenix with my old friend Ryan McKee, who I've been friends with for, 20 years now. So much fun. Idols are such a great band. You should check them out if you haven't heard them. Weird times in Phoenix, Arizona. I was running a couple of days ago. I'm sort of still getting back into it from COVID, and August in Phoenix is sort of like the dead of winter here, where it's just the worst month. But I woke up at 4 a.m. the other morning randomly. I think my cat fucking meowed at me and dragged myself out of bed. Got out running with the dog, and I was running along the canal, and I love running the canal because there's always great homeless people along there. And I take pleasure in just making eye contact with every person I come across and saying, hi, hello, how are you, good morning. It's a thrill to see homeless people's faces light up when somebody just fucking acknowledges their humanity in a basic way. But I was running along the canal with Sadie, and then on the other side of the canal, I saw a couple walking really closely together, and I was like, oh, that's cute. And then I heard them yelling, and I was like, oh, that's less cute. And then as we approached the intersection at 19th, I could see that the guy, it was like a man of indeterminate age, scarred by methamphetamine, just leathery and scarred. And he had his hand gripping the woman's, like her collarbone tightly, a woman with green hair. And I was like, this is not a good scenario. So I sort of fell in behind them to try and figure out what was going on. And as I got closer, I could see that the guy, he was holding her with his left hand, and then he had his right hand behind her back, and he had something black in his right hand. And I was like, oh my fucking God, does he have a gun? And no, it was the handle of a machete that he had. He had it to her neck, but he had it angled down so that people couldn't see. And I didn't have my phone on me because I don't run with my phone, because that's sort of why I run, is to get away from my phone for a minute. And I was like, you know, if I try to sweep this guy's leg, like, he's not stabbing anybody currently, but if I try and sweep his leg, maybe he stabs her, maybe he stabs me, maybe everybody gets stabbed, you know, or maybe he fucking hacks my dog or something. You know, I could let Sadie off the leash, take the leash, put it around his neck, you know, just all this stupid shit in my head. But there was a City of Phoenix truck there working on the canal. So after I saw the machete, I ran over to the City of Phoenix truck, and I was like, yo, call it in. And the guy looked at me stupid, and I was like, that guy's a fucking machete. Call it in. Call 911. Call the cops. You know, and then I waited there with him for a minute to make sure that he actually did it, and they were getting a description from him, and I gave him the, you know, street intersection. Okay, they're headed this way, headed that way. And then I looked up, and I saw the couple had disappeared down the bridle path. So I was like, well, I can't just, like, fucking let them get away. So I sprinted after them with Sadie. Sadie was so happy at this point, because she's like, well, you're finally not slowing me down anymore. Like, we can finally fucking open up a little bit. And so we just went for it, sprinted down there, and I turned off, and I looked at one place, you know, looked down one street, didn't see them, ran down to the alley, didn't see them in the alley, ran down to a third street, and I was like, I feel like this is the one. I feel like this is the spot. So I ran down that street with Sadie, and then came to a house, and the dude with the machete was there with the girl, and he had the machete, like, out, not swinging it anyway, but definitely, like, menacing people with a very Pirates of the Caribbean vibe. Not Johnny Depp, but one of the other players. And then he was, I don't know if there had been some argument, or they left. I sort of ran not closely behind them, but close enough that I could sort of see what was going on. And then I saw at the end of the street there were, a couple of cops bumbling around, and so I waved my arms and pointed at him, and I was like, yo, this is the machete dude. And cops saw him and yelled at him to stop, and apparently he'd been through this drill before because he dropped the machete and lay face down on the concrete, and they got him. I stuck around long enough to make sure that the cops didn't stomp him or something like that. But, and then I ran home, and got a good Charlie horse in my right calf for my troubles, because I was not sort of ready to sprint like that. That's not the end of the story. Got home and sort of chilled out for a second. Then I was putting more windshield washer fluid in my truck, and I looked over across the street, and there was a homeless dude with his shirt off, with his head leaning against chain link fence, my neighbor's chain link fence. And I was like, oh man, he's casing my neighbor's yard. Like, I got to go and talk to this guy. And then I sort of watched him for a minute, and he didn't move. And then I was like, this guy's having a fucking stroke. So I went over there and I was like, hey buddy, how you doing? And he turned around and he was just crying. He was crying really hard, white dude, maybe my age, I don't know, maybe 35, unfortunate tattoos to be sure. And, he was wearing flip-flops, and he had some food items that were sort of scattered on the sidewalk. And I was like, buddy, it's really hot out here. Let's get you out of the heat. And there's a shady spot here in the alley. So I sort of helped him get his stuff up and walked him over to the shady spot. And I was like, just hang out here. I'm going to bring you a cold drink. And I went back in the house to grab a seltzer. My last seltzer, by the way, I am a hero. And I went back and I grabbed an old pair of running shoes for him because he just had the flip-flops. And I, went and I was like, these shoes are too big, but they might help you. And I gave him the drink, and he was just crying and crying. And I leaned down, to sort of like, shake his hand or whatever. And I was just like, man, it's going to get better. And I grabbed his hand, and he just grabbed onto me and hugged me real hard, and I hugged him back, and he just held on to me and cried really hard for a long time, long enough that it got me going too. And I just said, it'll get easier. I promise it's going to get easier. And I don't know what he was going through, if he was kicking something, or I asked him if he was kicking drugs, and he said no, or maybe he'd lost a friend or something. But man, definitely fucked up day. August in Phoenix for the homeless people here, it's so brutal for them. They've just been so exposed for such a long time. Everybody's coming apart. But yeah, it was such a weird, fucked up day. The politics of running. Anyway, today's guest is friend of mine, Shanna Christmas. I adore Shanna. I met her in Denver, and she was hosting an open mic and just seemed to be having a fucking blast up there. And it struck me that she was a tremendously fearless comic. And we got to be real good friends, and then we weren't friends at all for a minute, and then we figured it out, and now we're friends again. And I had to have her on the podcast because I don't know. She's so funny. She's so insightful. She's been through so much shit. And she's not afraid of tough conversations, of weird conversations, to sort of just like speak the naked, ugly truth about what it's like to be a black woman in America, what it's like to be a black woman doing comedy. And one of the things that I value so much about my friendship with her is how little we have in common, how different our experiences are moving through the world. And I fucking learned so much from having Shauna in my life, and her just being incredibly patient and generous when I'm like, hey, I have 6 dumb questions to ask you on this phone call. She's a tremendous comic. Absolutely, you got to check her out when you have a chance. And yeah, please enjoy this conversation with my friend Shanna Christmas. Hi, Shauna. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. I took a poop a little bit ago, so I'm feeling a little bit lighter, you know?
You got a big poop energy?
Yeah, right after work, just kind of flush out the day. A lot of meetings going on, so you got to go straight to the bathroom when you get off of work. It's important.
My dog, whenever she takes a dump, she's full of joy. Maybe that's what joy is, just the absence of shit.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, I
like your dog.
I guess that is a workable definition. I mean, this podcast is mostly about my fucking dog and cat, but I love my dog so much. Being gone, being in Ohio and being sick and not having my dog there is, oh my God, it was so tough. And where like I forced myself not even to think about her until like the last day or the second to last day. And then it just physically hurt me. And then since I've been home, like I still have the COVID sloth. So I've just been like laying on the couch and she just comes and lays on top of me and like puts like her paws on my shoulders and like, like lick my face and then look at me and then lick my face. And like that. Oh, it's so
Wait,
cute.
you were in Ohio?
I was in Athens, Ohio. The COVID ruined my vacation. I want to talk to a manager about it. I went out there to see friends. I was out there, I have friends out there that I've had for like 20 years. And and then with COVID, with this stupid fucking plague that just keeps going and going, I haven't seen any of those people forever. Do you miss your road friends?
I don't know if I have road friends per se. I think there are people that I've met while being out there, and sometimes I just go once and I don't see them again, but they're on Facebook. But sure, I guess I think I miss being out there. Yeah.
I feel like there was a minute there where I would see you like every 2 or 3 months where we would just be in the same town or let's do this show together or a couple of shows together where we were both like working so hard. And I miss you and I miss fucking everybody from that time. And also I'm way less crazy, just not living out of a fucking suitcase. And it's like that movie Memento where he keeps waking up and he's like, where am I? Living like that. I don't know. It's exhausting.
Yeah, I think I get all these like obviously like Facebook memories and stuff. And I was like, I was really running around everywhere and like creating so many memories with people and like doing stuff in like the most random places. Like I was really all about this shit. And that part is kind of cool. But then, you think about how exhausting it is planning it and then going and, sleeping on weird couches or whatever. You're like, that part's not fun. But
yeah, I miss everyone. This is one of a conversation I had with JT when shit first hit and we were both sort of like losing our minds. I'm not a big fucking gratitude guy, but I choose my friends, I think, where like I have to find people whose negativity matches my own. And then when you're in conversation, you can't just both be like, this is the worst ever. And then, yeah, I agree. This is the worst ever and high five. Like you have to argue a little bit. So I always have to take the sort of like the positive side of things. And, one of the things that I said to JT was that, when shit first hit and we were all just sort of grounded like that, how fucking lucky were we that we got to do it when we did and how we did, I miss it and I don't miss it. And I don't know. It's like, I'm glad. It's like how I feel about my alcoholism. I'm glad we did it and I'm glad it's over.
Yeah, there you go. At least you can still remember doing it and it was fun. And now you're like, okay, let's do something else. But yeah, I get that. I get missing all that stuff too. I actually think about like, oh, maybe I should go back on the road. And I'm like, are those things even still open? Like, that's the other part. Like, some of those things never came back. And so that's the sad part about thinking about going back out. You're like, are they even doing the thing anymore? So it's definitely different.
So where are you these days with performing, with touring, with comedy, with all that shit?
Are
you back out on the road at all, or?
No, I don't really do the road. I'm a little bit hesitant still because, like I said, it kind of feels a little bit daunting trying to find places to do shows. I'm not saying that it's hard. I just think that my mindset is so different because, I mean, I was in New York when COVID started, so I have this huge different perspective than most people where I'm like, no, people were like legit dying every day at my job. So like, I took a huge step back from doing comedy. Like, it's not worth it. I don't really care that much to make y'all laugh. We don't deserve to laugh. Like, I was just like, so now I'm working in Washington right now, and I'm trying to plan. It's hard to plan a tour when you have to be at work all the time and like ask for days off and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And before that, I was doing contract OT work where I'm like, I'm done in 13 weeks and I can take as much time off as I want and that kind of stuff. But I mean, this contract is over in December and I can think about doing a tour next year, but I like money.
Yeah, it's tricky because I do feel like it's coming back. I feel like some of it's coming back, but I was really looking forward to doing the show in Ohio and sort of like getting back out there and I actually had a positive attitude going into it where I was like, I don't have my shit prepared. Like, I have a bunch of new songs, but I don't have new bits. And I'm not ready for this show. I'm not ready to sort of like get up there and do it, but also 45 years old, I am who I am. There's nothing at stake here, right? It's not like if I win this, then I advance to the next round or this is going to change my life. It's just I'm going to have a good night or I'm not going to. And I did. I had a great night. And then I got sick for fucking weeks afterwards. So like, is it worth it? I don't know. I guess if I can, when I finally shake this, that would be the time to get back out there because that's when my immunity will supposedly be the highest. But there's still close to 500 people dying a day of this shit, and everybody's sort of like, I masked up for fucking 2 years or 2.5 years. I have my shots. Fucking, there's only so much that you can ask of people before they're like, fuck it.
Yeah, we did the right thing for a long time and we're tired. We can't keep it up anymore. So you have to live a life at some point. We're all taking our own risks. Every once in a while, you're like, this is worth it. So, and that's for getting back up now without having any new bits or anything. Like I got asked to like headline a show and I was like, who wants to sit through 45 minutes of me talking? Nobody wants that. Like, what are we doing?
I would.
People say that, and I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
I'm having you here right now just to have you do a fucking headline set for me and me only, and I'm just heckling you,
But the joy about that is that I've taken this whole like shift where I used to get super nervous and like have really high anxiety, even though people were like, you look so confident. I'm like, it's lies. Okay. But now I kind of go into it like, there's nothing you can do, right? I'm pretending. But now it's like, I let the audience know off top, this might not be good. And then once they realize it might not be good, then I have a good time. I kind of get it out the way. I let the curtain back a little bit, which is a different approach I used to have to comedy, where it's like, just pretend you know what you're doing all the time. It's like, dude, I don't fucking know. So it's actually good to kind of not really know what you're doing and see what happens, because it's usually fun. So,
I mean, I could see that really working too. That some of my favorite comedy shows that I've seen are the ones that people do where, Jake and I did a tour that was called "Some of This Will Be Funny." Where we were like, both of us just sort of like going through shit in our lives, and we knew we had some jokes and some punchlines, and some of it also is just sort of like, here's something I'm going through, and now I'm going to sort of make you go through it a little bit too,
Yeah.
And what we do too is, we are sort of packaging and selling our vulnerability or anxiety for people with with a pretty little bow on it.
Yeah.
But I'm one of those people who has been completely taken in, because every time I've seen you perform, I'm like, man, why is Shanna just so that she's just so cool up there? She doesn't like give a shit. I wish I had her confidence.
Yeah. I give a shit so much. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Working on it though. It's interesting though too with comedy and even art in general, right? It doesn't have to be funny. Your tour doesn't. I mean, sure, you're not gonna be laughing the whole time. I would like to be able to have some levels of like you laugh and then you have like a thought of something, right? A little bit of a weird ride of emotions. I mean, it's fun to have people laughing the whole time, but I would prefer it to be like an ebb and flow kind of deal with me. Some comedians aren't always funny. Sometimes they just complain about trans people.
Yes, absolutely. It is the ratio, it's like, when I was a kid and I, saw like a recipe where they were like, you put salt in cookies. I was like, that's fucking, why would you put salt in cookies? And then now that I'm an adult and I'm refined and I have a cultured palate, whenever I eat a cookie that doesn't have enough salt in it, I'm like, chef, you let this leave your kitchen? This cookie is insufficiently salty. It is every show, every performance, every bit, every narrative has to have some of the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. It's got to go, there's got to be a moment of tension before that it pops and then everybody laughs.
Yeah.
When I was teaching one year, I had to do a lecture with another teacher, and I was terrified because I'm always like, oh fuck, like I'm just gonna skate through another year here. But she diagrammed the story of Cinderella and like how the narrative works, and it's sort of like, it starts with a minus sign where like Cinderella's there, and then the three cruel stepsisters or whatever, and then she gets an invite to the ball, and then they destroy her dress, and then so if you map that story, it's a positive sign, a negative sign, a positive sign, a negative sign. And that's one of the reasons why everybody knows that story. Everybody's read that book. Everybody's seen that movie a million times. Yeah. So yeah, our shit does have to have a certain amount of sadness, darkness, tension in it. But man, after coming out of these long couple of years, it's like funny isn't funny anymore.
Yeah, it's a different kind of funny. I mean, I would hope that most people came out of this with like a little bit more of a introspective kind of deal. But there's some comedians that started comedy in the pandemic, and it's like, nobody wants to fucking hear you. Are you serious? Like, that's so strange. It's like, that kind of stuff is weird to me because, even trying to be out and tour and stuff during the pandemic just seems so bizarre to me. And so some people probably aren't doing any like, deep thought, tension building comedy, and that's fine too. But for those of us that have like empathy and stuff like that and like care about community and people, I think to go up there and just kind of be whatever, it's like, not now, like there's too much going on. So you gotta give them something to think about and have a good time too. But also like, there's no way you can't really address all the changes and everything. But I guess some people do. I don't know. But nobody wants to hear your COVID comedy that's like hacky and shit. So
I haven't been out much since all this shit started. The first show that I went to post COVID was Kyle Kinane in Flagstaff. It was a tiny little room, and there were maybe like 40 people there. And
nice.
When you when you play a small town, they're not like, it's Styx coming through. They're like, a band is playing or a comedian. There's a performer, if it's a joke, then so everybody shows up. And I'm a huge fan of Kinane's, and so it was tricky for me to be sort of like, this is such a fucking great show to see my favorite comic in such a small room. And then there were people there who were just like, that was the thing they were doing that night. But it was, Shanna, it was so, oh my God, he has a joke about, man, when Mexico turned 15 years old, that party was incredible. And it's sort of classic Kinane, right? It's like really smart and really dumb and really funny.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where it was just like a fucking dart, and it just hit me, and I just sort of like coughing laughter immediately. And I walked out of there after that show just feeling so good. Maybe because I don't know. I mean, I think that's what we look to entertainers for, is to distract us from our lives for a minute. Like, let it be like a dream, Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I'm doing Altercation in October, and so I'm trying to start doing shows again and like trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And man, it's tricky. I don't know, just trying to figure out who to be, what to talk about, what to do. It's like, if you're doing a 9-hour road trip and the first thing you see in the first 20 minutes is like a horrific traffic accident where there's definitely people who died in that. Then is that the rest of the 9-hour trip is just but like, you're going to your cousin's wedding and it's going to be a big party and all these, everything, it's like how much of it do you, it's a good question of how much of that shit you carry with you.
Are you going to be doing some of your new songs?
Yeah, I'm doing a bunch of new songs. Those are all depressing as hell.
All of your songs are depressing as hell. Let's all just cut the crap here. Like,
yeah.
I guess that's what people are into. Have a happy moment. No, that's what you're into. You know what? You're right, because like nobody wants to hear from like a happy Adele. Like when Adele got married, we were like, shit, she's gonna suck. Like Mary J. Blige, awesome when she's sad. You're happy, great. This is gonna be a very bad album. So, but I think we can have at least one "I'm doing okay" song from Ishka. You know what I mean? Because that's also true, right? Like you're not as sad as you are doing okay. So you can try to reflect that in.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I mean, the COVID recovery thing is like bumming me out, but other than that, everything's great. Everything's real good right now. The thing is, when I feel good, I don't need to pick up a guitar.
I know.
But I think I'm going to be doing like a split release with my buddy Rad Pinkard, who I've had on the podcast. It's this like 25-year-old skater who does the emo sad boy shit that I do, and then he's fucking got bars too. So we're going to do one of my songs about being a sad old goblin in my cave, and then he has a song that he just sent to me. And the chorus is, if I'm not going to die young, then I'm going to die rich. And it's it's really sort of positive and upbeat, and it's a perfect foil to what I talk about. And I was like, rad, yeah, it's weird. People are always asking me to write uplifting songs, and like, you did it. And he was like, yeah, I don't believe any of that shit, man. It's like that's just me talking to myself, like trying to cheer me, like, come on, dude, come on, So that's real interesting. But
I don't think you'll have an issue when you go to Altercation, though. I think the people will be happy to see you, and you can just kind of fumble around and do whatever, and they'll just like it. It'll be a one-man show almost.
That's definitely my tribe. So you're in Seattle now. How long have you been?
Yeah.
Or you're in Seattle or in Washington or?
I'm in Everett, Washington. I'm about half an hour from Seattle.
Okay. How long have you been out there? How is it?
I've been here since July, so a couple months now. 2 months.
Right. That's a good time to leave Phoenix. July.
Well, we were having a heat wave and it got to 82. Oh God. Can you imagine? People were dying. Oh no, 82. What? Every time they complain, I'm like, you guys need to shut up. I'm wearing a sweater because they have the air on in my office and I hate it so much. I'm like, this is the worst. But yeah, the heat wave in Washington State it's funny, but they also don't have AC or fans. So I guess some people do die, which sorry, but like, I don't know.
Sorry, but also like man up.
Like just drink more water or something. Like it's not that hard, hydrate and sit down somewhere.
Yeah. I was talking to my neighbor the other day and I was like, oh my God, we're getting so spoiled. Like it's only been like 100, for this last week, it's nothing. It's so nice, You just you get used to it.
It's funny how like you can tell the difference between like 105 and 100. You're like, no. This is a little bit cooler. Like those small increments, you can just tell it's a little bit cooler. When it's so damn hot, you're like, no, I felt 113. This is not it. This is 108. This is okay. I can do 108. So
what was it like being in New York when the fucking shit hit? Because you were working in an old folks home or PT or what were you doing?
Just doing OT. I was working at a 17-story nursing home in New York. And I knew something was coming before most people did because we're getting updates from the CDC directly to the healthcare workers. So like in February, they're like, okay, you can't bring patients to the gym anymore. We're like, why? Like, oh, some kind of flu. And then later on in February, it was like, now you can't bring them out of their rooms. Like, what the fuck is going on? And then I did my last show at the Hartford Funny Bone, and I was like, are you guys worried about COVID? And of course, all the white people are like, no. And I was like, okay, well, you should be because it's killing people. And then a week later, they shut everything down. And so, and it was interesting, like, to see everything kind of close, but also be like, oh shit, I'm essential. Like, I don't want to go to work. Like, what the fuck? Like, it was scary to be a hero because that's not what I signed up for. I'm not here to do any of that. I'm just trying to make a paycheck. Y'all ain't pay me enough to do my regular job. Now I got to go in there and like battle some airborne disease with no proper PPE. Like, this is not what's up. So it was super scary.
I read an article the other day saying that, that they've like, there's been a whole campaign with monkeypox where they've been trying to get the public to realize that it's not a gay disease and that it's, it's a disease that's just communicated between human beings, to diminish the stigma behind it. And I think they see echoes with like AIDS in the 80s and like, oh, here comes this other African plague, but the article I was reading was, and it was doctors and scientists basically saying like, we're afraid that this actually is a gay disease. And it just got me, and I think it was like the last thing I read, before I went to sleep. And so I was just thinking that like, man, we have all these illnesses that, where like, black folks were disproportionately affected by AIDS, and obviously the gay community, and then black folks got sicker and died more with COVID. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, like, if there's a God, he's a fucking racist edgelord piece of shit. Because we keep seeing these illnesses that, I mean, obviously, any widespread disease is going to affect people with pre-existing health conditions, poor folks, the fucking First Nations people on the reservations, stuff like that. But to see, it sort of disproportionately affect the essential workers, which is, in a lot of cases, it's like the working poor, I don't know. It's such a fucking horrific thing that we've lived through. And having had a mild case, I'm like, holy shit, this is what I'm a healthy dude. I've been like running just about every day. I eat right. I take my vitamins. I'm still coughing,
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've got two things to say. I read an article recently that said that somebody in France gave their dog monkeypox.
No.
Yep. And I just assumed it was a white person. And somebody got mad that I said that.
I definitely kissed my dog. I kissed my dog on the lips.
I was going to say,
gross.
They made 4 Jackass movies, and there was mostly white people in there doing stuff with their buttholes. So I don't know. Just going by the data here.
Jackass is definitely, that's white folks' like cultural contribution.
That's what I'm saying. So like for them to get mad and be like, this is divisive or whatever. I'm like, dude, first off, it's in France. And second of all, y'all do be letting dogs like lick your mouths and your balls and stuff sometimes. I've heard you guys talk about it. Like, it's not, why are you mad that I'm stating maybe a fact? I'll do some research and see, but I feel like it's probably a white person.
Fair. Okay. You're right. Yes. And I have had more than one girlfriend where I was like, oh yeah, that stupid fucking urban legend thing about like, girls fucking, letting a dog like lick peanut butter out of her twat or whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, no, I did that. I'm like, you what? You what?
Oh my God.
More than one, more than 2, maybe. I think 3 women I've dated have not, it's not been something that they've copped to under hard interrogation where it's like, we got to get to the bottom of this peanut butter rumor. But they were just sort of casually, we're in Target and they were like, oh yeah, by the way. And I'm like, what the fuck? So that's on y'all.
I would love to know why you have found yourself in the company of 3 women who have let a dog do that. Like, what does it say about you? First off, let's dive into that part.
I guess that is a very specific demographic.
Your Tinder bio is just like must
enjoy peanut butter.
Peanut butter play with puppies. Like, this is a problem that you attract people like this as well. We'll dive into that some other time as to why. And then they just volunteer it so easily. Why do y'all think we want to hear y'all business? Which is just, I don't understand.
Are you kidding? I fucking love it. It made my day. I was like since, I don't know, the last 10, 15 years since we collectively discovered that men are terrible, I've just been like walking around feeling righteously horrible about myself and my gender. And then, so whenever something comes out of like women being horrible, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I love it.
Now, women or white women? Because I am the race lady and I need to make this, specific. So is it women being horrible with the dogs licking their vaginas? Or is that something you heard from black women too? Or any other kind of women you've dated? Have you ever heard any person of color cop to something like that?
One of them was a woman of color, no black women, but we'll appeal to our listeners now. If you are a black woman and you've let a dog lick peanut butter out of your pussy, please contact us and let us know for science.
Seek help.
For science. Please see my Tinder profile.
Oh my God. That is so, I just, oh God. It's like you just try to find things to entertain yourselves. The problem is you guys are just too bored with life. Everything's going too great.
Didn't put peanut butter on anything. All right. Though, what do you mean, you guys?
As a people, the Caucasians do tend to skew more towards, let me find something crazy to do. I'm bored.
So I started watching I had a thing where I watched all of the Jackass movies recently, which is to binge that. It's horrific. Hilarious too, but also just like, oh my God. But what's really funny and really interesting is that in the last Jackass, they tried to get diversity.
I saw the last one because my friend Rachel's in it. She's like the first woman.
Okay, the number one, ask her about the peanut butter. Number two, how hard did they have to work to find her? And the other thing is, I feel like it's just white boy shit. That's
what I'm saying.
I just do that. I've seen a lot of diversity hires that look and feel real forced, real awkward. Nothing. I'm not casting aspersions against the Jackass dudes because I feel like they're a fairly egalitarian crew. But I think it's just a white boy illness that compels us to be I can let my farts on fire, but what about putting a fucking bottle rocket in my butt or, all that?
It's always somebody naked too. That's what I'm saying. It's like they found 2 black people to do this Jackass. The guy got his dad who was in prison, do something with a spider. He's like, I need the money, bro. This is not some shit that I would subscribe to otherwise. Okay. You're going to pay me to sit here and do this one stunt and then I'm out. That's how we roll, is to pay a bill. But you guys just put firecrackers in your assholes for fun. It's like you guys are just bored. You don't need to pay a bill. You don't have any debt. You're like, man, what can I do to spice up my life right now? I know, fire.
If debt is unavailable, fireworks will do.
Man, I need to find a way to be oppressed or at least someone look at me. Someone look at me. Look at my asshole.
Yeah.
Look at it.
We all want to feel special, just in different ways. Sometimes it's with the dog of your choice or the fireworks. And
here we are, just trying not to get shot by the cops all the time. That's how we. Yeah.
that's your Jackass.
Yeah, just dodging bullets from the cops. Yes, please. We survived the day.
So fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other thing you were going to say about monkeypox?
Well, it was the monkeypox thing, and it was also about how COVID impacted Black people and people of color more. And it's just people don't realize how much racism is built into everything in this country. So if you have all these comorbidities and stuff, well, look at the neighborhoods that you grow up in, right? Oh, right next to an industrial plant where you get asthma or you have lead in your water. So you grow up in these neighborhoods that they put you in on purpose so they can fuck up the whole system around you, that you grow up with all these conditions. And then when you get COVID, then you die. So some of that stuff's not even our fault, right? That's just the zip code they put us in. And they treat us like second-class citizens. We get the worst of the worst. And so when we get sick, we die first. Even when it comes to transportation, there was this thing when people were talking about how was transportation racist. And they were like, they built a bridge in New York that was low enough that a bus couldn't fit through. So kids from the lower class areas couldn't drive to the beach. They made the bridge low enough for that. You know how maniacal you have to be to think about ways to keep certain people to have access to things. That is just so beyond what people even think about when it comes to racism. It's it's everywhere. And so of course people who tend to be poor or whatever, they're Black and brown people. And that's also one purpose. They don't give us money for houses. We don't have houses. We don't have generational wealth. We don't have, you know what I mean? So the big picture of it all is that it's always impacting us all the time. And it fucking sucks.
You want to hear a really fucked up story?
Sure.
So when I was living in New York, I had a good friend who I went to the gym with, I don't know, 3 or 4 days a week. And we were working out one day, and he was like, "Ugh," and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Saw my uncle over the weekend, and he said a thing that's like fucking with me." And I was like, "Okay, tell me about this." His uncle was a conductor on the MTA, on the subway train. And his uncle had been griping that weekend about having a case of the Mondays. Have you ever heard this before? This is the first and only time I've ever heard about this. A case of the Mondays is a train full of black middle school and high school kids right after they get out of school. And I was like, "Why did your uncle call it a case of the Mondays?" And he said, "Because nobody likes Mondays." And I was like, what the so it's this very it's so fucking fucked up. It's this very specific cultural, geographic slur specific to the fucking MTA. And it was I don't know, man. It was one of those things that I remembered it immediately, and I'll remember it forever. And it just fucked me up, that's this is my people's other legacy. We do jackass and we do slurs, that very, very specific, and also the full disclosure here. I've been in New York riding the subway with a bunch of black kids who have just gotten out of fucking middle school or high school or whatever. And yeah, it sucks. It sucks. It sucks because kids suck. And and kids in New York particularly, but also children who are systematically dehumanized, who grow up in the projects feeling below their the people around them. They go to worse schools, worse school districts, worse nutrition, all that shit. Yeah, no fucking wonder,
right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my new bit. That's the thing. That's the new funny thing I'm going to bring to the stage. What do you think? Hilarious, right?
I didn't realize that's what that meant. And I think that's always interesting that we just kind of say stuff and don't really ask, why did we say that? Or where'd that come from? And if you do a little bit of digging, you usually end up with something like that where you're like, oh.
Something horrifically racist.
Yeah. Like we're all just saying case of the Mondays because Mondays suck, right? Nobody likes Monday, sure. But you're putting it to where you could have a case of the Mondays on the Thursday. You know what I mean? Because you're describing having black kids on your train. So it's so weird. It's like culturally accepted stuff, and you don't even know why you're saying it or where you heard it from. And then it's always like, oh God, you can't escape it. You just really can't. I remember watching this documentary called Blackfish. Have you seen it?
I know of it. I haven't watched it. But
I watch it every once in a while when I want a little pick me up. But it's about the whales over at SeaWorld that were like attacking trainers and eating them and shit. And it was so strange to watch these white people talk about how if you keep an animal in chains or in cages, they're going to react in a certain way. I'm like, wow, can you apply that logic to people as well? That explains. It's so weird how you can understand why an orca will come out here and attack its trainer, but somehow you can't understand why black kids or black people are angry or whatever. Like the conditions around us make us behave this way. It's so weird that you can't correlate those two things. But when it comes to Shamu, you're like, we got to get her out of there. This is sad. So I watch that movie sometimes to watch them, beat people up and drag one of the water and stuff like that. Nice little pick me up.
So I have seen that documentary. and it's fucked up. And I thought there's another documentary that's about white folks, like the Rachel Dolezal thing of like white folks pretending to be black or like blacking it up for their fucking Instagram and whatever.
Wait, is there more than one?
We got to find out this is the other thing for our listeners. If you've successfully answered the peanut butter question, then we also need to know you know this term though, right?
The racial divide or interracial people.
I think it's called blackfishing, and it's where
Blackfish, yes,
right where white folks, I mean, basically just usurp black culture. It's not just cultural appropriation, but it's pretending to be black. You know,
Ariana Grande. If you look at a photo of Ariana Grande when she was younger and on Disney, she is a very pale Italian-looking girl, and now she's as brown as Nicki Minaj. And we don't know what happened, but we think it's a ploy to look a little bit more urban and dark or whatever. And it's like it's so exhausting. It truly is. You want to be like us until it's time to say something against like police brutality or racism. Then you're like, I don't know what to say about that, but I can pretend. I fucking hate it so much. I'm so glad I brought you on the podcast so that we can just go down the list of like all the most fucking like depressing shit in the world. But it's it's true though. Like, I don't know, just shit is different. You know, I had Dante Powell on the podcast. Shout out to Dante for being the first person on the podcast to fucking pull a gun while we were recording. Wait, what? So I fucked the time up. So he was in his office, which is his car, and he was sitting in his car. And when I called him, he was like on his phone. I was like, "Wait, Dante, you're in your car?" And he was like, "Yeah, no, this is a place where I could like come and do the podcast quietly." And then later on, he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I've been sitting out here for an hour." Like, and I was like, "Dude, like, black dude just sitting in a car in fucking Iowa. You're not worried, you know?" And he was like, "Nah, bro, like I'm a fucking huge black dude and I'm strapped, you know." And he like held up his fucking pistol, and I love Dante. I hate guns. I don't think anybody should have a gun, especially not a handgun. And especially like people shouldn't just be able to fucking walk around with guns. You know, as a student of narrative, the job of a gun is to go off and kill somebody. You know, that is what guns do. You know, I love Dante. I feel comfortable disagreeing with him, but I couldn't bring myself to initiate that conversation with him to talk about gun control or maybe not carrying a gun or whatever, you know, because I'm not saying that I understand where he's coming from, but I understand that I don't understand what his life is like, where he's coming from, I don't know. Yeah, I think that the gun issue is tricky, especially when it comes to minorities and black people, because Philando Castile had a concealed carry permit and he got shot. The NRA said nothing about it. Breonna Taylor's boyfriend shot at the cops defending himself, and they fucking shot her and killed her and threatened to put a dog on him. So like black people and gun ownership is almost like, if you don't have it, then, you know, if you live in Iowa and you run up on some like racist people, then you're fucking screwed. But if you do have it, now you're a black person with a gun, which makes it easier for you to be seen as a threat. And so it's a bit of I don't like guns either. And I understand why somebody would want one, but you know, being out in society, it's scary either way. I think it's, for some people, it might be just better to have it than to not, depending on what you run up on. So I can see both sides of it.
Yeah. I mean, when black folks are getting murdered for having a fucking phone in their hand, like, well, might as well have a gun, you know,
right.
And I understand the logic of, if you're going to take me out, I'm going to take you with me, you know?
Right. I mean, Ahmed Arbery got chased down the street while he was going for a jog by these white people, and they filmed it and they killed him. Now, if he had a gun, perhaps he might have had a fighting chance, but he was just going for a jog. So, like, that's what I mean. Depending on where you are in this country and who, it's good to have something like that, but it's also bad, because then if the cops show up and they say, well, he pulled a gun on me, so I shot him, and they'll just take that person's word, right? So I don't know. It's a very complicated situation, really.
The Ahmaud Arbery thing like really fucked with me because well, I mean, for a lot of reasons, but I used to live in Atlanta, and I ran, and I'm used to like living in New York and just fucking going everywhere, doing whatever. But when I was running in Atlanta, when I went out on longer runs, I would run through black neighborhoods, and the looks that I got from folks were just not welcoming, and so I got in the habit of like smiling and waving to people, that's not who I am. And then
that's what we do too.
And then it felt racist to smile and wave to black folks, but not to white folks. So then I'm fucking smiling and waving to everybody like a fucking dork. But just the sensation of running through a black neighborhood and like, getting that kind of like, like the look from black folks and be like, oh fuck, here they come, like it's termites or something. And on the one hand, like my own hurt feelings of being like, no, it's me. It's okay, and the other feeling of being like, I get it, man. Like, I understand. And yeah, I don't know. That was
well. Anytime that running joke about like if you see a white person jogging in your neighborhood, they're about to gentrify it. Like that just means they're gonna move you out and then put in a bike path so more white people can run around. You know what I mean? So a white person jogging in a black neighborhood is very much like, fuck, they finna come raise the rent and kick us out of here.
I am a fucking jogger now too. It's funny because I'm doing this podcast tomorrow actually, where talking with some comedians about the Guns N' Roses song Rocket Queen, and they were like, I'm such a Guns N' Roses nerd. I'm just fucking I have so much to talk. It's like going to be like a fucking PowerPoint present. I have a book here that JT gave me of like the story behind Appetite for Destruction, and like I'm making fucking notes and shit so I can like hit every mark on this. But they asked me if I had a guilty pleasure to talk about on the podcast, and I was like, well, I mean, all of my pleasures are guilty. Like I feel terrible for feeling good about anything. But one of my specific guilt, I was thinking, what's a song that I enjoy that really embarrasses me, and it's the Jet Airliner by Steve Miller Band. I can't even say it with a fucking straight face. And so then today I was like, well, I need to refamiliarize myself with this specific cultural abyss of Steve Miller Band. So I was like listening to it, and then my AC wasn't working, so I had my window rolled down, and then I like came up to a stoplight, and I'm driving my like 2005 Honda Element, my fucking gray hair, with Steve Miller blasting, and like some girl was like walking through the crosswalk and like made eye contact with me. I'm like, oh, like, what's up, Uncle Dad? And it's just, I don't know. It's a thing that I guess happens to aging punk rockers, where you wake up one day and you're like, no, man, I'm not a fucking badass. I'm not hot shit. I'm a fucking old white dude in Crocs, like talking to my dog, that like, oh, you're a good girl. You're a good girl. Just like lost any edge I ever had.
Oh, that's sad.
Uncle Dad, the gentrifier, the jogging gentrifier.
Do you wear Crocs for real?
I was thinking about this the other day. Shanna, it's not. Everybody's like, Crocs are cool now. Bullshit, man. Nothing that comfortable is allowed to also be cool.
Are they comfortable?
Oh man, do you not? I would love to bring you down with me on this. If I can't get you into the peanut butter thing, I can get you into Crocs. They're wicked comfortable. They're too comfortable. It's like pajamas for your feet, and it's also just I have like gross hairy hobbit feet. And my feet are like chewed up from running and stuff. There's like cleavage in them, so you can like look in and see like my toe cracks and stuff like that in the Crocs.
Wow.
And it's horrific.
OnlyFans, let's go.
But only feet. But they're super comfortable. I have like 3 pairs now, and it's the Crocs are fucking white darkness. That's what that is. It's just like.
First it was Birkenstocks, and now it's Crocs. I mean,
yeah,
style icons you guys are. Just ahead of the game with all these.
The Crocs are like
footwear.
Birkenstocks. The bros do love the Crocs. Somebody pointed out, to me that I was making fun of the way that I was dressing after having had COVID, because when you come out of it, it's like I need a haircut. I gained fucking 8 pounds. I haven't run. I haven't worked out. I haven't fucking taken care of any part of my body forever. But then I'm finally that first day where I feel well enough to go to fucking Kroger or whatever the fuck. And I was wearing like jogging shorts and like an oversized T-shirt and whatever. And I posted that picture from Pulp Fiction of John Travolta and Samuel Jackson, and somebody was like, "That's how you dress every day," and it's true.
Yes.
When you were in Phoenix, did you find yourself just fucking abandoning looking good at all? Of like, instead, I'm going to try and be comfortable today.
I've never really been like super fashionable or cute. I just kind of wear whatever fits, which is a rarity for me. There was a time in my 20s though where I was like, I'm going to go to a club and wear a dress, but I threw away like all of my high heel shoes because I was like, I don't even know where I'm going to wear these ever again. And but for the most part, just kind of wear jeans and a T-shirt. That's kind of like my suit. But yeah, sweatpants. Yeah. Well, if I wasn't going anywhere, for sure. But like on the rare occasion, we're gonna go to Shake Shack, I'm gonna put on pants. And so I would put on pants.
I feel like I'm advertising to the world just that I've given up. But when
no one's surprised if they heard that news.
I know, right? It's like truth in advertising. No. I do feel good though. I was thinking about this. I was sort of like taking stock of this while I was running this morning. I was like, I've had a good couple of months, even with getting COVID, and I feel like the fucking darkness of the last couple of years that has just been, I just have not been able to shake. I feel like finally gone,
Yeah.
And that I'm like ready to move forward. But then it's, sort of like what we were talking about earlier of like, all the network that we built up before COVID, being on the road, of people who booked nights who weren't dirtbags, and people who were doing comedy in different places who we liked and we had kinship with and you could perform with and you were comfortable staying on their couch or whatever. So many of those people have moved on or found other things, or not, or the bar closed or that night got canceled and they haven't. There's just that sensation that everything's like trying to make its mind up now about, are we going to start up again or no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like we're all just trying to pretend to go back to 2019. And it's like the world keeps reminding us, like, you can't. That doesn't exist anymore. You're going to have to figure out what to do with this reality right now. And so until you guys get your shit together, you're just going to have random things that don't come back or newer places that do open. And I mean, of course, we're all getting older too. So like when people ask me about the comedy scene in Vegas, I'm like, I don't know most of the people that do comedy in Vegas anymore. I don't know about the venues. I don't know. And that's because I've been gone for a while, but also because I hate most of the people there. And so it's trying to figure out who's the right person for what. And, you know, you really have to have that mentality to kind of energize yourself to kind of go out there. But that reality keeps coming back where you're like, oh, I love that place, but it's closed. So now you kind of have to be like, do I even want to go? Right. That was the reason why I wanted to go, is to do this room, or because then you want to make money too. Right. You don't want to just do a bunch of shit and not get any money. Yeah. So, and making money right now is kind of hard too. I mean, a lot of people ain't got it. So you're going less with your ticket sales, or you're trying to find a smaller venue, and you know, that kind of stuff comes into play too. So just that new normal-ish where it's like, should we do a festival? Like, do we need to have this many people in one place? Well, you just take your risk because you kind of want to get back into it, but you get that reminder when you do it, somebody got sick, and you're like, fuck. Like, so it's always this little tiptoe around, like, I want to have a good time and do the things, but there's always a setback now. You have to prepare yourself for, what if I get sick, then I can't go kind of deal. So.
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like one of the things that white men with a conscience have been sort of trying to do the last, 10 or 15 years is to see how the other side feels, is to be able to understand, to listen, to like reach, and now I understand what it's like to get COVID, to recover from COVID. And I wish I didn't. I wish I was still, I understand now. It is kind of the ultimate, you had to be there, that, you don't know what it's like until you know what it's like. And I do wish that I had gotten another shot, or fucking been more careful, or, but who knows,
That's the thing about COVID too. I was super scared about it because people were having different reactions to it. It wasn't like the flu. You get the flu, you get the stuffy nose, you cough, fever, and fine. But this was like all those things, and also kidney failure, and also your lungs get crystals in it, or you need to chop your fucking leg off. Like, it was all this other stuff that was like, that's not a flu, bro. And I don't know if I get it, what's it going to do to me? Because everybody's different. So I got COVID and I was fine. And after like 5 days, I felt totally fine. And I'm lucky. But it has nothing to do with because I'm healthy. Because my friends, no, you are more healthy than I do. You run more than I exercise. You run every day. I can't. And I don't eat that well. I eat like goldfish crackers and like gummy bears and stuff. Like a 4-year-old is my diet. So yeah, I'm not... I used to do a lot of activities, but not really, especially not after the pandemic. I wasn't doing anything. Yeah. I was almost 200 pounds. So when I got sick, I was like, I don't know what it's going to do. And I was lucky that it didn't do anything bad. When you hear about people who were in high school who died from it, college football players or MMA fighter, all these people who are very healthy people, and it's taking them out. And so it's like, it's too unpredictable to risk it, which is why I was so scared. And then you just don't know. I prefer it if it's like, oh, you get these 3 symptoms and you're fine. Okay, I can deal with that. But it's never just that cut and dry for people. And then you don't know what the long-term effects could be. Like, I could probably have a stroke in the next 2 years. And it might be because of some shit that COVID did. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the other part. That's super scary. So it's one thing to go through it and say, yeah, I had it bad, and you still have a cough, that lingering cough, and you're still very lucky. But, some people
I still ran this morning.
Yeah. How many miles you run today?
I was feeling better this morning, so I did maybe 4. Stretched
too many.
A little bit.
1 mile.
I can't imagine going out for 1 mile. It's not even worth putting your fucking shoes on.
4 miles a week until you feel all the way better, until the cough goes away.
Fuck that, man. I'm running every day until I get back down to fucking 210. I can't be Yeah, no. I got bikini season right around the corner.
We're in it. You've missed it already. It's literally about to be September. Like it's gone.
Sam Keeley has it now.
Yeah,
and I feel terrible for two reasons. One is that he's a frail old man. And
he's gonna hear that and be like, "Fuck you."
It could take him out. And also, I just got a fucking Speedo, like a really gross, really tight, where you could see my like pubes coming out the sides of it. And I was so psyched to be like, "Hey Sam, I'm back. Let's go to the pool," and then just go out there like we're going to the pool, and then just like drop my fucking shorts and jump in the Speedo and just have him be horrified.
Have a little jackass moment.
Yeah, but that's like the dollar menu jackass.
It's for dads. It's dad jackass. It's dad ass.
What?
Well, you can probably still do that. I mean, it'll still be hot in Arizona until like November, so there's still time.
Maybe I'll like make a care package for him and go up there to deliver it in my Speedo. I just got to do it before this drops because it's gonna that'll ruin the surprise. What? So tell me this: how are you going to move forward? I can't see you. You love comedy. You're really good at it. The people love you. And I've seen you be so successful in so many different environments. I can't imagine you leaving that behind and like moving on. What is your plan for moving forward for the rest of the year, for next year?
Well, I'm going to be in Washington until December because I have a contract here for 6 months. So I got to stay. So that's what I'll do until December 22nd.
Are you doing shows there?
Oh yeah, I just got booked at the club here. I'm quite impressive, thank God. So I've been making my little mark up here. So people are like, do you want to do a one night only show at the club? Sure.
Awesome.
Whatever.
Awesome.
So I'm doing all the shows here. Trying to find other ways to be creative outside of that too. But like, I think when I'm done, I haven't figured out where I want to go next because I've been in all the places. I've worked in LA and New York and I've been all over, and I don't want to be too far from my mom. So I kind of have to stay around the West Coast-y part of the country. I thought about going back to New York for like a minute and I was like, I don't want to do it. I would love to go for like a week and see my friends and do shows, but to live in that environment with the anxiety and the stress and the crowdedness and just like, I can't do it. I can't sacrifice self-worth and dignity and space just so I can go tell jokes. You know what I mean? That was cool when I first got there, but now I'm like, I don't have to live like this. This is not healthy for me to live like this. So I don't think I can do New York unless they pay me to go. Now, if somebody said, we'll give you so many $1,000, then okay, then I'll go. But I don't know exactly where I'll be next year, but I'll always do comedy. Like I'm going to find somewhere to do it. I can be in the middle of nowhere and find somewhere to do comedy. Like I'm not going to stop doing that. I'd also like to try to work on more writing, try to learn how to do scripts or something like that, or do some TV shit. I mean, I'm really trying to be famous real fast before I get out of here. So somebody just needs to put me on something and hurry up so I can buy my mom a bigger house. And so that's, but I'll be around. I'm not going to quit comedy. I would love to have a special on something somewhere. I might even get around to like taping my own special, which is like, who wants to hear me talk for that long? I want to do a 15-minute special.
Just get in and get out.
Yeah, like we have this attention spans are so short. Like no, I can do 20 minutes and I'm like, that was good. I feel good about that. But after that, I'm like, I have to do more. It's like sex. Come on. Go.
I don't know how y'all get up there without guitars. I need to have a thing to hang on to because I'm worried, you know?
Yeah. Well, you started like that though, right? Did you start out doing comedy or you started out being a musician?
No, I started out like, just talking shit between songs, playing music and then like talking shit between songs. And then I started and then through the Stanhope connection started getting booked at like comedy nights and the open mics and stuff like that. And then I saw people at open mics and I was like, man, I'm fucking funnier than you guys. Like I can do that,
you must have been around a lot of white people. You said that.
Wait, say that again.
I said you must have been around a lot of white people if you said that. I'm funnier than you guys. I can do better than that.
This is true.
I said that a lot too.
I will say that one of the best shows I've ever had, definitely the best show I've ever had in Phoenix, was your Black Chicks and Pink Dicks.
Your birthday show.
My birthday show where I was the only I think I was the only dude and the only white person on that show, and man, it was so rewarding to go back to the green room and walk in and everybody was like, oh. And I was like, oh, man, that's what that feels like. That's what that feels like to just walk in and there's one of them, and then
there's another in here.
Yes. And then when I got up there, people just being like, oh, really? And then I got them. Because I was like, yeah, this is me. This is what I look like. I look like a fucking. I'm not just white. I'm Canadian. I'm the fucking whitest motherfucker you ever saw. No, that was such a great night. It was so good.
I got a lot of flack for the name of that show from so many people, and it's so funny because it's like we literally go on stage and just talk so much shit about white people. It's like the opposite. People thought we would go up there and like celebrate white dudes or some shit. I'm like, no, we're being mean. But those shows were so fun, and I actually think about doing more of them. But it's like, where would I do them, and venue and whatever. But I'm glad that you had such a good time at my show when you were the diversity hire. You were the affirmative action for the night. Yeah, it was fun.
Diversity hire is such a specific. It's like a very polite slur, and thank you so much for applying it towards me.
We checked the box. Here is one. Yes. Don't sue us.
Shanna, you got to come back to Phoenix and do the show in the side yard.
Okay. How often do you do that side yard show? Whenever you want?
We're doing it once a month. We have Andy Awancio, who's from Seattle. She's doing September. Christine Levine in October.
Okay.
November, December. You want to come down in January when you've served your sentence up there?
Yeah, after my birthday, I'll come down to Arizona and do your show. Why not?
Awesome. When's your birthday? Your birthday's on Christmas. Oh my God. I was telling somebody about you the other day, and I was like, I was like, man, fucking, why is her last name Christmas? Did she just love Christmas? That's why it is. Your birthday's on Christmas. Oh my God.
It's my birthday.
It's all coming back.
My birthday starts right after Halloween, so I get 2 months of just saying it's Christmas time.
That's some fucking white girl shit right there. Your birthday's your fucking birthday. It's none of this birth week. You take a whole season.
I have to compete with Jesus.
All right, that's.
People literally forget that I was born on Christmas because they get presents and shit. They don't care that I was also a part of it somehow. Like, who else gets gifts on your birthday?
We need to do like a Christmas show here with you just up on the cross.
No. That's the Easter show.
That would be fucking amazing.
I can see the write-ups in the Phoenix Sun Times right now.
Yeah. If they had a problem with pink dicks, they're gonna fucking love that. Shanna, I love you so much. Thanks for doing the podcast. Where can people find you? Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff.
It's Shanna Christmas on all things. SHANNA Christmas. It's the same on all the shit. So find me there and like my stuff or comment or whatever the fuck the algorithm. I don't know. I hate all of it, but that's where I'll be.
Awesome. Shanna, you're the best.
Thank you. This is so fun. I hope you feel better soon too. Take your time.
No.
I tried, everybody. I tried.
I love you, Sean. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too.
Take care. Folks, thank you so much for listening. I know there's a million podcasts out there. We appreciate you spending your time with us. If you're digging the show, if you're enjoying it, if these conversations move you, make you laugh, annoy you, piss you off, please take a minute to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. It helps us grow the show and it helps other people find it. If you'd like to hear bonus episodes, song demos, just sort of ranting off the cuff conversations, all sorts of different bonus material, writing advice, personal blog posts and stuff like that. Go to patreon.com/Mishka Shabali. We will be having monthly episodes up there with my mom and I answering questions from readers, and there's all kinds of good stuff there. Thank you so much for supporting.